Hi, I'm with my friend Wendy Belleville. I have known her for decades. I'm Ronnie Loiza, and she has invited me to become part of her. Well, I've always been part of her circle, but now part of a brand new circle, a sphere, and it's called Real Talk Weight Blog. Real Talk Weight Blog. This is not about just a diet, it's not about hacks, it's Wendy's journey. And I invite you to go to realtalkweightblog.com and look at the transformation, the before and after. And it wasn't about just losing pounds, it was really about Wendy's identity, who she was. And all of a sudden, she woke up one morning, it's like, oh my gosh. And not that Wendy defines herself by her weight, but aren't we all just transforming, evolving, growing, not growing physically, but growing. And then all of a sudden we look at ourselves one day, it's like, who am I? And this physical part is really tied to Wendy's journey, spiritually, mentally, and what was going on in her life. Wendy, I know I talked a lot. Again, I'm Ronnie, and I have the privilege of interviewing you for your blog and for your following.
Thank you, Ronnie. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Like you said, we've known each other forever, but this is a really fun forum, and I think a lot of people will resonate with what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. So when people go, when I saw your before and after, I'm like, I've known you since I've seen you since last year. And I was like,
Mhm.
really? I've seen you for the past 4 years now. Really? I'm looking at your pictures right now. I'm like, so people who are closest to you don't even think of it that way because we know you, but the powers
Mhm.
be on. And would you please explain kind of your journey, but start with from what size to what size you went and how you got there? Because you are a very
Yeah,
active person. You are a
I
very
was.
physical person. I know you as an athlete. So go for it.
Yes. Well, thank you. So I was. I've always been an athlete. I was a gymnast for many years when I was a kid. I was always one of those gals who I could eat whatever I wanted and never gain weight. And oh my God, I can't believe you're eating that. Well, along the years, along the decades, I was really developing some very poor eating habits because I thought, well, it's not showing up on my weight. Who cares? But life caught up with me. When I entered my 50s many years ago, I started seeing that, okay, it's starting to stick a little bit. But really, what happened was in June of 2023, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And so and he's still in the fight. So, we're still staying positive, but it started a journey where I really had to look honestly at how I was handling my own health. Because if for anyone who's going through this kind of journey, whether themselves or a loved one, you're on that journey too. Like you're going through it too. And so I knew I needed to be strong for my husband, for my kids. So I started looking at how am I feeding my body and what am I putting in my body? And to your point that, well, I see you all the time. I didn't really see you as, being bigger. I'm good at hiding it, or I used to be when I had extra pounds. I'd wear flowy tops and skirts and things. So, and I also sort of, and I don't know if other people out there kind of do this
I
too. I
saw
kind
your
of trick
face goof
myself.
up a little bit, but I just thought, hormones, it's
Yeah,
just,
we're hormones, and it's true. Like after menopause, really that's what happened. When I hit menopause, I was 50 when I hit menopause, and it's like a light switch just shut off or shut on. I don't know how you say it, but suddenly everything changed. My metabolism, everything changed. But I didn't have those really good healthful eating habits to sort of back me up. And so that plus the stress of, COVID and my husband's cancer, I just sort of not intentionally, but I became much more of an emotional eater, but I didn't have the tools to be able to handle myself in terms of, just my nutritional habits. And it just sort of snuck up on me. It's not something that one day I'm like, wow, I was a size 12 in that picture that you're referring to. I'm now a size 4. And I was actually shocked, and I when I put the before and after side by side, because I remember taking that picture. I was at a book club with some friends, and I wore that top because I thought, oh, this top is slimming and these pants are slimming. And then when I would look at pictures of myself, I thought, is that how I look? Because that's not how I see myself. Like you said, I'm that athlete. I'm that gal who was always thin in my mind. But what was showing up was something different. And so I really, one day, it was July of this past year, I just said, enough. I'm done. Now, I want to make sure I'm really clear. People are great at whatever size they are. Like, this is not a judgment on anything. This is a personal choice for me. I was always a thinner person. I was never quite as thin as I am now. I was always like a size 6. Now I'm size 4. But it was just sort of a non thing for me. but it's just a personal preference that I'm used to being smaller. And but mostly I just feel better, I sleep better, I have more energy. And so once I started my sort of my own creative weight plan that we're going to talk about and how I did it, I to this day I stick to it. And it's not a diet, it's just a lifestyle choice, it's a change in how I look at food. And how I interact with food. And it's been a great experience for me. It's not for everybody, but this is what worked for me.
Now let me hit on two things. Your boys, you're a boy's mom.
Yes. Boy, mom, yes.
And also, I know your mother. She's like my mother. Whenever I see your mom, at least
Yeah.
once a year, it's I want that hug from your mom. It's like she's my mom,
Yeah.
since mine passed. Did your mom or your husband, who adores you, and he was going through his own, for better words, crap, his own journey,
Yeah.
and he depended on you. Did anyone, maybe your sons, did anyone kind of say, Wendy, you're kind of, or mom, you're kind of getting a little pudgy, or you're kind of growing? Did anybody say anything? Did your mom? Because your mom is frank with you.
She's very frank, and my mom is. She's awesome. No, because they know me. I'm very like they know like I'm not going to say something to her because she's gonna. Who knows what I'm going to say back? Because they probably thought I would get defensive. My husband, like he would notice, but he my Brad. He's like I love you at any size. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Um, my mom has said now that I've lost the weight, she'll say, "Oh, I saw you." Like when we were getting in my pool or something. She's like, "Oh, I noticed," but I wouldn't say anything. So people would notice, sure. Um, my husband loved me no matter what. And when I show my family after I lost the weight and I show them the pictures, nobody wanted to say, "Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you were getting big." I didn't want to say. They just said, "Oh, but you look great, though." I'm like, "No, it's okay. You can say it." Like I got bigger, and that's okay. And it would have been fine if I stayed that way. But
Now,
for
as you
me, I
started losing, because you said enough in July,
yeah,
as you started losing, and we're only going to talk aesthetics now, but then we're going to get into the emotional journey.
yeah,
As you started physically losing, shrinking again, did they start saying, "Oh, you look better.
yes,
Oh, you look better"?
they did. They're
Or
like,
did they ask
"Wow,
you if you're dieting?
yeah." I'm sorry, what was that last part?
Did they ask you, "Are you dieting"? Did they ask you about it?
No, well they knew because I'm very vocal. So I said, "Hey, I'm cutting out all these processed foods, and we'll get into specifically what I did." But I was very vocal about I'm starting this, and that's it, and I'm gonna and I'm limiting my calories, and I'm choosing just different types of foods to eat. So one boy's away at college, the other one's at college living at home. So they were my kids weren't in the day to day because and they're guys too, so they're like okay whatever. But they did notice, and my husband, as the weeks went past, he's like, wow, like
Yeah.
that's incredible because I started wearing different clothes. I realized, hey, these clothes that I was wearing are too loose. And so I would treat myself. I would go to Kohl's or somewhere and get some new pants and new tops. And so he would start. My husband, who sees me constantly every day, he started seeing it. My mom, she doesn't live near us, but when she'd come visit or I show her pictures, she's like, wow, and because for me, the plan that I put together, I lost it fairly quickly. And
Yeah.
so they started seeing it. I actually got to a point where both my mom and my husband were like, all right, you're getting too thin. Like,
Yeah. Too
stop.
much stop. Yeah.
And I leveled off and I'd always planned for the plan that I was doing for part of it to just get to a point where I got to a weight that I was comfortable in. And then just now I've been maintaining. I started
Okay.
at July 19th. I mean, that's when I started. And
That's the
yeah,
day before my birthday.
oh, yes.
Okay, so twofold, and I'm going to be a little hard on you. I'm going to do
Okay,
some pushback because
good.
I people know I am a master certified professional coach, so I do a lot with mindset and your reasons why, and really getting into yourself. So I would love to explore a little bit about, you're still helping your husband, and it
Yes.
impacted you, impacted your whole family, how you're handling the triggers anyway, the emotional eating. The other part where I'm going to push back, I'm also a certified personal trainer, which is one of the reasons you reached out to me. I've practiced for
Mhm.
decades as a fitness coach, a personal trainer. I know about nutrition. I'm certified in nutrition. I also know a lot about metabolism. I'm like the metabolism guru. So when I hear people say, I'm going to go under 900 calories. Like, why? I get really, okay, let's look at this. Or when people
Mhm.
like they don't want to count calories. Oh no, I'm not going to count calories. It's like it's just a scientific mathematical unit. How about instead of
Yeah.
thinking, oh my God, another chore and making it a big deal, make it you're in control and enjoy. Because people have this
Mhm.
thing about, I don't want to count calories because then I'll always be obsessed. Well, only if you say you're going to be obsessed. We can hit on that because counting calories actually puts you in control. You can just say this banana has 100, this apple has 80. You're more in control if you
Mhm.
globally, because bottom line is how many
Yes.
calories you put in your body, you need to put in how much you need, your body needs for your height,
Right.
weight, age. That's it. If you give it
Yeah.
more than it needs, it doesn't know what to do with it, so it packs it on as fat.
Yeah.
That's it. We're not like
Yep.
the fashion cars where if you overdid the gas, it would just spit it out. We don't have that. So I'd
Mhm.
love to hit on the emotional part, but also I'm going to push back just a little and like that was kind of radical what you did because you did go under 800 calories, and that's not what we're advocating for anybody. We're advocating
Right.
literally making what how are you in the habit of eating, what you're in the
Mhm.
habit of eating, and how much you're in the habit of eating, because that's what I hear from you. And I am a certified habit coach, so that speaks my language.
Yeah.
Would you like to start with the diet part or more of how are you handling that same thing that made you start emotionally eating?
Let's start there, and then we'll get into some of the tactics. So once I kind of identified I'm an emotional eater, which that's no secret. I've always been an emotional eater. Let's celebrate with brownies. Let's celebrate with nachos. I'm having a bad day. I'm going to eat nachos. I'm going to eat brownies. So I just my emotions sort of drove what I ate. And so, but once I really clocked it that hey, this food, this food isn't fueling me. It's just making me tired and it's making me unhealthy. And it really was the shocker of my husband's diagnosis because when one spouse is going through that fight, I realize someone has to be the one that's taking care of everyone, taking care of things. I have to stay positive, mind, body, spirit, that kind of thing. And I'm not going to get there with the foods I'm eating. So first, just the emotional part, I really took a hard look at what am I doing with my life in terms of my health? I'm successful in my career. I've done all these other things, but I hadn't quite gotten that point that you are what you eat and how true that is. And just for me, it was really starting with I wanted to have more energy and more clarity in my thinking. I wanted to have more stamina to deal with who knows what's coming our way. And so that's really what started this. And yes, I also didn't like how I was ticking up on the scale there. And I thought, all right, something's got to change. And I'm just stubborn enough and I like to challenge myself. And I always feel like I'm always growing and I want to try new things. So it became, and we can slip into the tactics. What can I do that works for me? That again, it's a personal choice. I want to get this weight off and I want to have more clarity of thought and just be healthier overall and really look at what I'm eating. And so
Now,
that's the emotional part of it.
well, yes, and I know you. When I first heard about your journey, which I was surprised I didn't know, and I almost felt like a bad friend, like you didn't share. You
I
didn't.
didn't share with a lot of people because it was too hard to talk about. Like the
Yeah,
cancer part, like the more you talk about it, and I was really inside my shell a lot because it's just hard.
and you're
And part of me functioning was like I live it and breathe it, but I had to like compartmentalize it. So that's the only reason.
so for other women and men who can't compartmentalize. No, I can't speak. Compartmentalize it. Um, how do you handle the emotional part? Or how can they? Because they can't all be like you. I've always known you. When you put your mind at something to it, it's like, it's going to happen. She's going to take the baton and run with it because that's how you've
Yeah.
always been. I thought of you
Yeah.
like I saw the outcome and what you did. I'm like, well, yeah, that's the athlete. That's the athlete I know of, Wendy. You know.
Yeah.
But still, how did you handle the emotional part then? Because you still there was a reason you handled your stress that way. So
Yeah.
how did you handle your stress? I see one thing. You're in your office, but you have that swinging chair. So I know you must go to your
I
swinging chair
do.
in the middle of you
Yeah,
work.
my swing is on, which I love. It's this little, looks like a little egg,
Yeah.
nook that you sit in, and I read and I journal, and it's just a great space. I put it in my office specifically because I just love it, and I just feel cocooned in it. I sort of spoke out. I like my mom and a few friends who I was at book club one day when I sort of disclosed, like 2 days after his diagnosis, and so they just started texting me like sort of every day, just checking in. I I actually just did a lot of reading. I mean, one thing I didn't do is I didn't do a lot of going on the internet to research his cancer and oh my God, what does this mean? WebMD, because I'm not a doctor and I knew that I would get triggered or just go off the rails. So I really we would listen to the doctors, we would review the latest scans, that kind of thing. But mostly I just filled my mind with puzzling because when I do something, I do it. So I realized, oh, I love puzzles. So I got a puzzle table and I would get these big, 1,000-piece puzzles. And so I would just fill my mind doing stuff because I didn't want to just sit and marinate in the fear. And so I would do puzzling, reading, and I'm already a voracious reader anyway. But like every space that I could, I would just read. And then, of course, I'm kind of a workaholic. I work from home, which makes it a little easier. So I'm constantly working and busy. So my days are filled with that, taking him to appointments and that kind of thing. So I just kind of did the day to day and stayed really busy. And we're now almost 2 years into it. And it's just become a new normal. We get, feels like we take a step forward, then two steps back, and then it's kind of, but he's doing great and we're just waiting for the next thing. But
You're
so
not the
now,
type of person that all of a sudden you you feel stressed and then you go to the fridge is like what's to eat or grab something to eat. You're not that kind then.
I used to be that kind for sure. That was part of my emotional eating pattern. I'm not that way anymore. I
How
don't go to
did you
food
break
for
that?
comfort.
Like, how did you
Just
replace that or fill that void on the spot when you only have like a few seconds when you feel like emotionally eating? How do you break that? Because you can't go work on a puzzle for an hour in the middle of your workday.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's a great question. There have been times where I walk into my pantry and I see there's some nacho chips there, or there's something there that I know there's cheese in the fridge because cheese, oh my God, don't just keep me away from cheese because I love it so much. I would literally just say to myself, I will regret this later. And this taste or whatever this is not going to taste better than how I'm going to feel than how thin feels or how healthy feels. So that's how I would kind of do it. One thing that this may sound silly or like why would this work? What works for me is I would think like I'd be at a restaurant or I see some food that I want to eat. And hey, do you want this? Do you want this cake or do you want this? Like, yes, I do want that, but I'm not going to eat it. So kind of acknowledging like I want my stupid salad or whatever this grilled chicken is. And I don't want that, but I'm going to eat that because I know that that is going to align with my health and wellness goals more than the junk food that I typically would eat. So I really had to take my mind and say, stop. You will regret this. And it's like there's like a little angel demon sort of thing on my shoulders. I was like, this is in my head and it's calling because it was calling to me the junk food. And I literally had to fight against that. And in the beginning, it was not easy. And there are even times now where I'm like, that's why I know we're going to talk about this later. But I had to go cold turkey with the foods that I don't eat anymore that are not on my list because if I have the taste of the nachos or the quesadillas, oh, I'm going to start craving them. Oh, I can have just a little bit. It's fine. I can't do that. Taste a little bit in moderation.
Yeah.
If I taste it, I'm going to want it, and then I'm going to have to fight myself later. So for me, I just learned to love different things to eat, and those became
Learn
my new
to
comfort
love
foods.
to eat different things. Sorry, I
Yeah,
stepped over you. That's exactly it. I'm just going
exactly.
to say a little bit of myself. When I work with clients, what you said, many people aren't there yet. And
Hmm.
people think it's self-discipline. It's not. It's literally taking a beat. And I love what you said. Yes, I do want this. And
Yes,
I'm not going to eat it. That's exactly what I
yes,
go through with my clients in that, because I've helped a lot of people start turning the tide on working out or start turning the tide on how they eat. And like, don't deny it. Don't be all like,
right,
I love this, but I'm not going to eat it. No, 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 no. Butt out the word but. Really accept your feelings, accept your thoughts. They're there, they're true. Because when you start lying
exactly,
to your brain goes, now you're lying. And doesn't,
exactly,
and then it gives in. It's like, yes,
exactly,
I want that chocolate cake or I want that nacho, and I'm going to eat this fruit. So if you
right,
start telling yourself the truth, your brain starts going, noted, capable. Yeah, yeah. You want that cake and we're having this apple. Guess what? I like this apple or whatever it is. When you start
exactly.
accepting it, then it starts becoming your habitual way of thinking and your way of
Hmm.
eating. And I promise you, Wendy, you might not believe me. A year from now, you won't be craving those nachos as much as you think you did. A case in point, when I came
Yeah.
back to France, I went to France for a few months, ended up staying 5 years. My favorite candy bar to eat when I was a kid was Baby Ruth. I came back.
Mm.
No, I'm not, nothing against Baby Ruth. I hope they don't sue me, but it had been years. And somebody at work was like, do you want this? And I was a Baby Ruth bar. I'm like, "Oh, I didn't like it anymore. It was too
Mm.
sugary, too gloopy. It wasn't the same as
Yeah.
my childhood memory. Also I went on this thing where I went along a challenge with one of my clients because I was all against challenges and detoxes. But I'm like, I'm going to go through this challenge with you. And the first thing off that list was coffee. I'm like, oh my God, I love my coffee and cream. But okay, I did it. And I used to love hard coffee candy. I didn't have it
Mm.
for 40 days. First time I had a coffee candy, I didn't like it. It was too gloopy and sugary. So what I'm saying
Mm.
is your
Yeah.
taste buds will start craving what you give it. We weren't born
Yeah.
from mommy's womb craving the nachos. We were craving
Absolutely.
whatever was put in our mouths first. You can get your taste buds to start craving. I crave a good juicy pear now. Oh my God, give me some great black grapes.
I do too.
Start
Yeah.
changing. And I grew up with the white bread and ruffles and dip and the
Yeah.
bread, you know? So that said,
Absolutely.
I absolutely love that you said, yes, you validate yourself and you choose the
Mhm.
other one because you are strengthening that thought and you're strengthening that muscle, let's say,
Yes.
call it that.
Sometimes I have to do it more than once, but I do it, and that keeps me honest. That keeps me like, all right, uh that moment passed, and like you said, I hardly crave that stuff anymore. It's much easier as you go.
Now, I know people want to know, let's get to how you did it. Again, it's not for everyone. And that's what you have
Right.
to find is what will work for you with someone who knows nutrition, who knows health, and who can help
Yeah.
you and can also be your accountability partner. So let people know about was it 600 that you got down to?
800. 800.
800. Oh, thank
Yeah.
goodness. Okay.
Even I couldn't do the 600. That was a bridge too far. But yes, 800 calorie a day limit. So here's what, and this wasn't, like you said, it's not for everyone. And I didn't pick 800 because it was a magical number. But I started really thinking, okay, what could I do that's really sustainable? I knew I had to do something that I could stick to every day because I didn't want to do some
And
yo-yo
yet
thing.
drastic.
Exactly, exactly. And I knew it was, and I always tell people, like, kids, don't try this at home. Like, consult your doctor, do whatever you need to do for your wellness. I personally didn't go to a doctor just because I knew that I was in good health. I knew that I was going to do this very temporarily. I just wanted to get the weight off and then maintain. And I'm going to zoom forward for a second. Um, side note, I don't count my calories anymore. Once I got to a certain point and I was able to maintain, I did it for a while. And now I don't do that. I just live the healthy lifestyle. The weight has stayed off. So we'll get to that maybe a little later. So I chose 800 because I looked at what my maintenance, first of all, I didn't even know the term maintenance calories. I had to kind of educate myself. And I learned, okay, the calories that you take in, the number of calories that if you eat every day, you'll stay where you are. You won't gain weight, you won't lose weight. So knowing that I wanted to lose weight, I looked at my maintenance calories, and everyone can calculate those for themselves.
It's called the
And I
basic
wanted to go
metabolic rate. Your base.
exactly. I
So you
wanted
be a couch potato and breathe and not die. Mhm.
exactly. I wanted to be very well under that. And obviously 800 is nobody's maintenance calories, but I wanted to go well under that. I thought, well, I could do 1,000 or 1,200, but I really wanted it off sooner than later. Not for any particular reason. I was just tired of it, of just being bigger and feeling sluggish. So I chose 800 because I thought, well, I couldn't do below that. I couldn't do like 600. I would need to have at least 800. So I just chose that and I committed to it. And I started with, and do you want me to just kind of go into the tactics that I used? And okay, so I went old school. I didn't use some fancy app. I didn't use any gimmicks. I just used the notes on my phone, and I started like a journal, like a calorie log, basically. And it was July 19th of 2024, and that was the first day. And so what I did was I just calculated and started calorie counting everything I ate, and it is tedious. It is a very tedious thing to do because literally, and it's not just, people always forget when you're counting calories. Oh, here's the the fruit or the chicken or the whatever you're eating, you got to count the dressings. You have to count everything that goes in your body. And so,
A piece of sugarless gum is 5 calories. Tic Tacs have 5 calories. I know all this. Yeah. And I
yeah,
always,
it's
yeah,
tedious.
count every
It's
calorie.
tedious. So I started eating. So I started, first of all, what are the foods that are going to give me the most nutrition? So I wanted foods that would pack in a lot of nutrition with lower calories, and but I would still be filling because I have a huge appetite. That's the thing about me that always worked against me. I have a really big appetite. I can eat piles of, like, when I would used to eat nachos, it was like a domed thing on a plate. I mean, it was just like gluttonous. So I started looking at, wow, I didn't know there were that many calories in cheese, or even the healthy foods like pepitas. I love pepitas because I can't eat
Yeah.
nuts because I'm allergic. So like I would make, before I lost the weight, I would make this big salad. And I'm thinking, oh, this is a really healthy salad because I have all this lettuce and I have all these pepitas in there and I have all these little those dried onion things in there, and I love those tortilla strips. And I mean, I have just all these things stuck in there and all kinds of dressing just poured all throughout it. Well, when I started breaking down how many calories that was, that's, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it was in the hundreds for a salad that I was assuming was super healthy. So I got smart about what I was putting in my body, and I put together. And if people go to my website, I add a little more detail as well. But I put together sort of a chart of all the foods I was kind of starting to eat a lot, because a lot of all the produce I was eating, and that includes like onions because I love grilled onions. um, if I anything that I was eating, by like a half a cup or a cup. So I started because I didn't want to have to constantly research. Okay, this food, this item of food has this many calories or that. So I would throughout the day make something, and literally as I was cooking it, um, I would just kind of jot down. Okay, this thing has 5 calories. This thing has 20. This thing has whatever it is. And so at the end of them, and so I would track that on my phone. I would just sort of keeping it. I'm sorry, I would first just the calculator on my phone. As I'm eating something, let's say I ate a meal that was like 200 calories. After I
Right.
calculated all the ingredients, that's 200. I know I'm going to get to 800 by the end of the day. So I would track it with my calculator as I go, because that's the only way to keep yourself honest. If you're going to stick to it, you have
Right.
to know what you're eating, because it's easy to eat something and you forget. Well, your body's not going to forget because you're still going to add those calories. So I would track it with a calculator just as I would go. And then at the end of the day, I would put how many calories did I actually consume that day into my little old school notes on my phone. And not an app. And it's fine. It's probably easier to use an app of some sort. There's all kinds of weight loss apps out there. I didn't want to use an app. I was like, I can do this. People were losing weight and getting healthy before apps. I can do that too.
Right.
So every day I would track that, how many, and some days I was under 800. Some days I was like maybe 20 calories over, or whatnot. Some days it balanced out, but and it, because it's hard sometimes to do an exact science. But I always averaged 800 and lower. So if I went like one day, I think I was 850, 870 calories because just something I ate, and it's like, all right, I gotta have my dinner, so I gotta eat this thing. I didn't deprive myself. I didn't say, oh, well, you can't have dinner now because you're going to be over
Right.
800. No, I just like, all right, note that, track it. Then the next day, maybe I was like 750 or something. So
Right.
I always balanced it out. And I tried to really make sure I'm going to be hungry. So I better eat foods that are really going to fill me. And so I didn't eat things, I didn't add like salad dressing if I made a salad, which is hard because I like dressing. I like to have that flavor. Or I would do like a tablespoon of salad dressing, like a low fat salad dressing. So I have a little bit of flavor, and I would just add extra spices. So did I love that salad that I ended up making as much as the one with all the pepitas and all those things? No, I didn't. But I learned to like it, and then I learned to love it. And then I found like, and I love veggies. I love zucchini and broccoli and all those things. So I would just fill a bowl and a skillet, steamed, all of those veggies that I love. And sometimes that's my snack, or I throw in some grilled chicken. So I just learned to love new things.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you get used to these things. I don't know if you ever go to Trader Joe's, but they have those cream
Mhm.
soups. They're very low calorie. They have protein. I put that on my salad instead of salad dressing because salad
Mm.
dressing has sugar. I started learning how to put, since I love cheese, Put some cottage cheese on your salad instead of salad dressing. You start
Yeah.
replacing things with things you need anyway. And my cottage cheese was my protein. Or I eat
Yeah.
beans. People think I'm a vegan or vegetarian. No, I just happen to love every bean in the world. I think they're so tasty. And that's your
Yeah.
protein. So you
I do
start
too.
replacing things. You really do.
I did.
And I snack. I snack. Sometimes you got to eat that celery. Guess what? I love celery now. It's so hydrating, and
It
you
is.
cannot overdo once you start eating more than 800 calories. You cannot binge on fruits and veggies. I dare somebody to eat half a pineapple, a banana, a bunch of grapes, and a pear all in one sitting. But you give somebody a bag of Lay's potato chips, family size, and they can sit there and eat the whole thing in one sitting. So
Exactly. I want to also mention, and you're absolutely right, Ronnie. Not only did I fill my body with nutritious foods, I also made a point of eliminating certain things because you can eat all the healthy food you want, but if you're still eating all the processed foods, then you've lost the plot. So I stopped eating anything that was processed. I have a new saying: if it's not in a bag, a can, or a box, I don't eat it. That's like my motto.
actually, it's the
Because
opposite. If it is in a box, a can, or a bag,
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't, if it comes in a bag, a can, or a box, I don't eat it. Meaning it's
exactly.
something off the shelf. I open a can. No, I mean, I'll give you soup because, you got to buy the soup somewhere and bring it home. But basically, no, that's just my way of saying it's going to be, I don't want processed foods. I don't want foods not in their natural state. And sometimes you got to grill it or what. I don't, I'm not saying you have to eat raw everything.
Right.
But for instance, you mentioned beans. I eat beans all the time. I don't get the beans from the cans in the store. I get the beans in the bag and I boil them and I do it. Yeah. Does that take a lot longer? Yeah. Is it kind of a pain? Yes. But I'm getting beans that are healthier that doesn't have all those extra preservatives that are part of it that come in the can. So I stopped eating all processed foods and I did all this cold turkey. I did this all at the same time as I went to 800 calories. No processed foods. I also eliminated three things that I love more than anything. To this day, I still don't eat, and I kind of mourn a little bit: bread, pasta, and rice.
The
Now,
starches. Yeah.
starches. The things that I love most in the world are bread, pasta, and rice. All my loved ones will tell you. You probably see me eat a ton of, like, I could eat stir fry or fried rice like nobody's business. But those things turn to sugar. Those starches, those in particular, turn to sugar, and those are my comfort foods anyway. And so I realized I have to stop eating this. And I've literally not had any pasta, rice, or bread. The bread's the really hard one
Well, what are you
since
going to do when
July
you go to
19th.
France and Italy? I'm just kidding.
I will be very sad probably when I go to restaurants, but and again, I would think, well, I want the bread. My mom would laugh if she saw. There was something I did when I was a kid. When I was a gymnast, and I was just so, like, weight could never stick to me, and I didn't care about that. I was a kid. I used to love cinnamon toast. I still do love cinnamon toast. I just don't eat it anymore. But I made cinnamon toast with the bread and the soft butter and the cinnamon and the sugar, and I would broil it. And I literally put a chair in my kitchen next to the oven and just kept eating it until there was no more bread. It was a brand new loaf of bread.
Yep, I hear you.
I could just eat and consume bread and all those things like it's candy. Like, I'm not even thinking about it. So I stopped eating those too. And that was the hardest part. I had to stop that. I stopped all sugary drinks. I wasn't a big soda person, but I stopped drinking juice. So I pretty much just drink water. On once in a while now, and when I was going through those 12 weeks where I lost the weight, I
Yeah.
didn't vary from this at all. But now, if I'm out to dinner or lunch with my husband or friends or what have you, sure, I'll treat myself to a glass of wine because I don't deprive myself if I'm doing that. So that's where I'm trying to be a little more balanced when it comes to that. But I still don't drink soda. I still don't drink juice just because, yeah, I don't need it. And plus, I like water, and
Yeah.
I drink tea. I drink a lot of herbal tea and sometimes black
Yeah.
tea, which,
And that's what it is. Um,
yeah,
Wendy, so I'm going to insert myself a little bit in here in that I promise you, I lived in France. I could eat half a baguette by myself, but I also stopped living on. I didn't stop eating. I stopped living on what I grew up with, which was rice, pasta, and bread, because
yeah,
that's what my mom cooked. But all of a sudden, I ate fresh because I did live in France, and when
yeah,
I came back, everything was preserved. So you
Yeah.
start learning how to appreciate the fresh. I just went on a trip with my husband to, because he had never been to France and Italy. That's why I brought that up. I didn't overeat. I would taste a little bit of the bread. They use it there to sop up the sauces or whatever. They don't overeat. So my mantra is eat, don't overeat. And you don't need control.
Right.
Once it's how you are in the habit of eating. You savor it, you love it, you kind of eyeball the portions. Portions are calories, and
Yes.
you love it. Because I'm 57 now. No, I'm not. Why did I say that? I'm 59 now and hitting 60. When I hit 50, I could not hang anymore. You knew me in college.
Mhm.
I could drink three,
Yeah.
4, 5 drinks. Now it's like half a drink. If I drink a whole glass of wine, I feel it at 2 in the morning. It's called
Yeah.
menopause. So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
husband and I literally split a glass of wine. It's not because we're cheap. It's like we can't hang anymore.
Yeah.
you know? So my point is, it won't always be that way, Wendy. You will
Yeah.
appreciate some bread or some good pasta, just not the junk. Your
That's
taste
true.
start getting used to the good stuff because you're not eating processed anymore. And you don't have to practice this self-control. In fact, you have control once you start putting
Absolutely.
your body clean. And you don't have to be all upset.
Absolutely. That's the thing. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, and I look forward to that. So now I want to go to France because now I want to have the really good pasta. Absolutely, and you obviously goes without saying you look incredibly wonderful at at any age, but you look marvelous. And when you said 57, because in 2 weeks from today I'm going to be 57, and so same thing. I know there's certain things that like wow, okay, I have to. I'm looking at everything sort of differently, and I love what you said about eat. I eat all the time. I eat, and when I was going those 12 weeks when I lost the weight, I went from went from a size 12 to a size 4. And I had the restrictions with 800 calories and no processed foods, and I just really focused on clean eating and none of those starches that I mentioned. But I was eating all the time. Like every 2 hours or so, I had a bowl of strawberries. Like if you could turn into a fruit, I would look like a strawberry right now. I eat strawberries, like a little packet of strawberries, probably
Yep.
a day, maybe 2 days. Um, so I just started eating. I would fill myself like I feel the hunger pains, fill
Right.
my bowl with fruit. My splurge, and I would have my little splurges, and those would be the things that I enjoy because I love cheese so much. I would take a little bit, like maybe a quarter cup of cheese, and just slice it up in little crumbles because I want to taste the cheese. I like cheese and strawberries for some reason, but and I don't like a lot of fruits. So the fruits that I like, I'm more of a veggie girl. The fruits that I like, I just fill up on. Like I love pears, I love strawberries, I love peaches. So I would just eat constantly. Like and that was really important for me because I used to be completely different. I would go hours and not eat, and then I would just eat all this junk. I would just
Yep.
eat until I'm sluggish and I'm stuffed. Now, and since July, I just eat small meals throughout the day, and I eat just lighter things. And I kind of slowed down when I eat a little bit because I used to be all the time. Now I'm just like, all right, I want to eat um, what is filling.
Mindfully.
Yeah, mindfully, and I eat to live instead of living to eat. But I used to be completely the opposite. I used to live to eat. It was all about that next meal. Now it's like, what fuel do I need to fill myself? And what nutrients do I need? And that's not as fun. It's not as tasty as, when I'll see commercials on TV with all the foods that I normally love, all the pasta and all the things. And it used to be kind of hard when I'd see that. Now it's like, it's because this was all self-induced. No one told me I needed to go on this journey of weight loss. This was just me deciding I wanted to make a change. I could have stopped at any time, but when I started seeing the results in my body and sleeping better and having more energy, that just got me even more committed to doing it. So once I started seeing the results, I was locked in. And then when I got to the point where it was literally October. I remember it was like October 20th. It was 3 months after I started. I actually surpassed my weight loss goals, and I was thrilled. I did it. Like I actually did it at my age. It's harder when you get to be an older person, especially for
Yes,
us
because your
women. So
hormones change and your
it does.
condition, you're in the habit of eating that way. So you have
Exactly.
to recondition yourself. And I like
Exactly.
that you seem very happy when you're talking about this because it's obvious you were celebrating each step of the way. And that's important because you need the instant reward. So you were giving yourself your psychological reward, reward every little tiny step.
Exactly. Because, yes, and thank you, because I was prioritizing my wellness. I was actively and proactively prioritizing my health. Again, so I could be there for myself, for my family, just for my community. So because I was making such a commitment to it and sticking to it, I was very happy. And when I was eating throughout those 12 weeks, I donned what I call a food uniform. I pretty much ate the same things every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks, a lot of the same foods because I didn't get super creative. I just like, okay, well, what can I eat? Oh, I had that yesterday. I'll just do it again. So I'm not advocating that. It's good to have variety. For me, I was so busy. I was like, okay, I mostly ate a lot of the same things. And then once I reached my weight loss goals, I kept my calorie counting a little bit because then I said, okay, I no longer have to stick to the 800 because I was averaging 3 pounds a week of weight loss,
Which is too
pretty
fast
much,
usually.
which is very
Usually.
fast,
Yeah.
very fast. And so if I kept sticking to that, I would be a size. I mean, I don't know what that would have been unsustainable. So once I reached my weight loss goals, as I promised myself, it would be temporary. I stopped with the 800, and then I went up to now I'm about 1200, and so I just kind of stick to that. I pretty much still eat the same foods I was eating before, maybe slightly more of them because I can have a little more like that second bowl of fruit or that second whatever it is. But and now I don't even count calories. I can honestly say, I once I went up to about 1200 calories a day, I kept a journal. I kept journaling my food and logging it. I did that for about a month just to see, okay, how is this working? Is this keeping me kind of where I need to be? How am I feeling? I did that for a while to keep myself honest, and then I realized I it's baked in. So now I just know the
Exactly.
foods to eat, not to eat, what I need to do to prioritize my health, and I've stayed the size 4 that I was in October, and I plan to because it's a lifestyle change. It's just the new me that's just baked in, and it's not some fad because fads don't last. That's like the whole point of a fad. They're very temporary, and I wanted a
Well,
permanent solution.
every diet in the world works or around the world works as you're doing it and very temporarily, but it's not who you are and how
Right.
you habitually do it. So that's why diets are unsustainable. But what you're doing is just who you are now. Now,
Exactly.
and again, and we'll wrap this up. Um, I still, like I said, I love a good pasta. Now, when I go to restaurants, I can't eat the whole plate. And I savor a little bit. I savor how much I enjoy. And it's like, you know what? May I take this home? I'm queen of take home now.
Yep.
And
Me
that
too.
lasts 2 or 3 weeks and I put them in little Tupperwares. And that little bit I still love. And I eat it with my big salad and all my fruits and all my vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I want to say, being in nutrition, I don't advocate everyone eating in little spurts like you do.
Mm-hmm.
I do too. I don't need a big breakfast. I don't need a big lunch. I can't stand doing lunch. My thing is still dinner because I'm finally home with my husband. I'm relaxed, or I love going out to dinner. But that's
Mm-hmm.
just me, or that's just you. This
Mm-hmm.
is it. Because if a lot of people start eating like, oh, I should eat 5 meals a day or 6 meals a day or with little spurts, that could keep spiking your insulin. So it's something you
Sure.
have to look at. Um,
Yeah.
Again, this is just Wendy and Wendy's journey. She
Yeah.
knows her body. Wendy, you're so connected to your body, and so am I. And that's what helps, like a good
Yeah.
coach or a good doctor or your community. So I invite people to go to your blog because now what you're putting in there, and you're going to grow this, is
Mm-hmm.
other people's viewpoints, other people's blogs, your
Yes.
great dishes that you're cooking up. So it's not this strict diet that you're putting in there. You're just putting Wendy and also how you're doing it and what you're eating and your recipes. So I really invite people to
Absolutely.
join this community and ask questions and share because Wendy, you shared with a few and you celebrated yourself. So support is so important.
It's everything. Thank you so much. And I do encourage everyone listening, go to realtalkweightblog.com. And it's just where I tell my story. I got inspired by the success of what I was able to accomplish. And I just wanted to share, hey, this is what worked for me. And it's going to work differently for everyone. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. These are just some of the tips. And this community I'm building, because weight is one of those things, no matter where you sit in the country, no matter what other differences we have, that's something that especially women have in common. We just want to know how to live a healthier lifestyle. And we also, if we can get some tips and understand more insights on how to keep our weight in check, we want to know that too. And so, but I really loathe gimmicks and things. And like you said at the beginning, it's just a science. And what can I do and what do I need to do for my body to have the kind of to be fit and healthy and just have more clarity. So it just works for me. And I'm building this community I want people to share their weight loss struggles and what their roadblocks have been, and share your success stories, share your tips, share your recipes, all of those things. And so I'm excited, and I'm really excited that I've had this opportunity. I know I'll see you in 2 weeks anyway, but I've had this opportunity to see you and to have this conversation with you, and I hope it's helpful to a lot of people.
I do too. And I think what you're going to cover in this blog is the mental aspect of it, the emotional support. Also, we didn't talk about it here, but I'm sure you're going to start incorporating that in your blog about exercise, about
Yes,
fitness, about moving. 'Cause
yes,
we have to do that not just to burn calories, but also to boost our metabolism. Metabolism is our hormones. People think metabolism
yes,
is just to burn calories. No, it regulates all your hormones. So you're going to have in there
absolutely.
everything. It's holistic. It's about your mind, your
Yes.
body, your spirit. You want to call your spirit your psyche, your soul, whatever it is.
Hmm.
Your emotional well-being, the actual tactics of eating, and also what you're going to incorporate fitness. And it's just a group, good cohesive group. So if you had to say one thing about, again, it's called weight, real talk weight. I got to say it
Yeah,
right.
Real Talk Weight Blog.
That's it.
Dot com. Yeah.
realtalkweightblog.com. You're going to be putting it out there. If you had to say one thing about it, like its mission, what would it be?
To empower women to be their healthiest selves. That's what it is. It's not about weight. It's not about the scale. It's not about that. Be your healthiest selves. That's what it's about.
Beautiful, Wendy. Thank you so much for opening up.
Thank you,
Not
Ronnie.
everybody can open up and be vulnerable. And not only are you being vulnerable and sharing this, you're not saying, look at me, and Instagram selfies. You're going,
No,
I went through this. I'm not alone. I know lots of people go through their journey, and you're inviting them in.
absolutely. I just want to help. Whatever is helpful. We have to support each other, especially as women. We have to. So thank you. I really love this time with you today.
Yay. Okay. And everybody, go to that. We're going to put it on the show notes. Go into that community page
Great.
and let's all meet.
Thank you.
How do I stop recording?